Hi everybody, we have a class coming up in the templates, tar paper templates for clay. And here's what you'll need for this class to learn how to do this. You'll need scissors and a brush, a scrub brush or toothbrush. A straight edge is always good. And a knife, just a plain old, like a steak knife is good. Then a T-square is really helpful, especially if you're doing some rectilinear forms like cubes, that sort of thing. Here's an example of a piece that I've been doing over and over again. It's like a house, a cube with a roof on top, and here is the piece itself. And I've used this template in tar paper so many times that it's completely worn out. So I made a copy of it. This is the template itself of tar paper that I used to make that piece. So there's that. Now I've made a template, a copy of it in paper that I'll keep, and I'll use this, lay it on top of the tar paper, and make a new template. It's kind of nice if you're doing a series to have the template and reuse it, because then your pieces are always more or less the same size. Like a row of cubes or a row of little cube houses. Now, another thing you'll need is newsprint. If you don't have newsprint, maybe wrapping paper, but newsprint lays down well and is cheap, and you can just experiment with shapes. Bring them up, tape them together with a little tape, and see if you like them. Much easier on your hands and quicker than trying to do it out of tar paper. So the first thing we do now is we take our newsprint and we go ahead and either draw out a pattern or freehand a pattern. And working with tar paper and working with porcelain, I think this is about the right size. What we have here. Not too big. You can handle it on a kitchen table. Now, this is the heavy-duty tar paper. It has, on one side, I usually put the piece on this side because it's curled that direction. But I'm going to go with this side. And then you can see, I'll just lay it on here. And pencil, I can see pencil, but if you can't, see the pencil on the black tar paper, there are also silver Sharpies. Now, while I'm doing this, I will remind everyone what we need for this class. We need a toothbrush or a nail scrubber, and we need a knife, any kitchen knife, maybe a steak knife. We need a wire or a string so that you can cut your clay out of the bag. We need, if you have a piece of canvas for the clay, that's nice, but you could actually use tar paper. And then you'll need the newsprint or some big sheet of paper that you can play around with this and try out forms. All right. So now when I get this all drawn, I'm going to have to cut it out. And the reason I don't cut everything out of tar paper is because it's really kind of hard on your hands. Well, I think I'll take my steak knife and inscribe the lines before I cut them. I haven't done that before. There we go. I think as we go on, perhaps the most challenging thing will be making a slab, because we don't have a slab roller. But your assignment for next week again, come up with something very simple and rectilinear like a cube, or this is a cube house, cube with a roof, rectangular shape, and also something organic. And then we'll look at it. And next I'll show you how to make a slab. Now normally, you know, there's so many ways you could handle this. I have made great big flower leaf-like forms that were 2 to 3 feet and very complicated using the tar paper. But, and there are so many ways you could use this because it gives your clay a little more starch. You can work with clay that's right out of the bag, and therefore you get less cracking. And it also protects the clay as you, it dries very evenly because it's covered with tar paper. So I've used tar paper in a lot of different ways, but this time I'm going to use it the way I most often use it, and that is for making a shape that I'm going to have lovely drawings or paintings and have a really good time doing that. For instance, this template is what I use to make one of these Coleman porcelain shapes. Here you go. You can see that. There. Now when I cut this out, I'll be able to fold up the shape. So there are the fewest number of locations where I actually have air in between these two, and when I fold it up, I have to join them. These are already, I'll fold this up, 1, 2, 3, 4. That just folds up into a box, and I don't have to repair the seam. This is, since I usually use this for porcelain, that's important. So now I think this week, if you come up with a something simple, it doesn't have to be rectilinear, but and actually, you know, you could add something. There's so many things you could do. You could add something that's organic to a rectilinear piece, or you could have, for instance, this. You can see that it has a spot or like a little sculpture coming up, because this could be a sculpture stand, right? So for this week, because we don't have tar paper, I don't think that you all will have tar paper yet. So I would have you make templates out of the paper, and then we'll go on from there. All right, now, if you're doing something organic, this is kind of interesting. See that? When you're having a good time making your forms, they could be organic or rectilinear. You've made them out of paper, and if you're wondering how they're going to look when how it's all going to work, I put tabs on this one. You can always tape it up. So, in this case, I took a bunch of pieces of paper that I had cut out the same form, and I taped them. Now you can actually do things like this, where you leave some of it open. It can be very cool. So you could do something like this. Of course, if you're goofing around and you're coming up with patterns, it's a whole lot easier and quicker to do it with paper and tape. In this case, I know what the result will be on this, but I'll just go ahead and show you. In case there's any doubt, up here, right? The roof. So we pull it all together, tape it, and you can see what you're going to have. In this example, one would really not know. I actually really like this, okay? So then you might decide, what I think I want to have it symmetrical, right? Like that on this side. Or maybe you want this to bow out farther and come out to here. You know. And this is kind of like this weird little slot thing. You see that? You could use that if you wanted to have that. Or let's pull it out. Okay, now I think that's pretty. Now, something like this is a whole lot more difficult to put together with your clay and tar paper and all. So, There you go.